In the middle of a recent Steam Fest, I was browsing the title page looking for something to pique my eye. As something I found indeed, in fact, so picking that I just had to tell you all about it. That's how I came up with the idea for a new series, consisting of short-form essays in which I'll be analyzing and simply talking about games, finished or not. Introductions aside, you are watching Neon Darkness, and this is Small Talk. Which actually didn't really happen. Being myself, I lost control over the script, and the 10 minutes I was originally planning for the video turned into, well, this. What can I say? Analysis requires sacrifices, and skills I do not possess. As I came close to the end of the writing phase, I realized that I completely messed up the original vision, and thus, I had a choice. I could try to polish the project, cut it in half, and hope I'll get something decent. Or I could embrace the chaos, go all out, and end up with a barely watchable mess. I made my choice. Make yourself comfortable, prepare for the unexpected. And this time for real, you're watching Neon Darkness. Hi. There are many reasons why Blood Typers piqued my interest. The two most obvious being, it's a survival horror, and a typing game. To be fair, I've been wanting to get my hands on the genre for quite a while. This is a special starting point. Most of the times, this combination comes as a non-rail shooter, in which the typing mechanic, despite being the basis for a game, feels more like an eternal QTE. In Blood Typers, the typing is the game. You type to fight, you type to grab and use the items, you type to walk. Some could say it's tedious or inconvenient, but you see, I'm actually fascinated with it. To what degree? None of you asked. Well...
Sure, so my name is Dmitry Parag, and I guess today we'll mostly be talking about Blood Typers, which is our newest game for Outer Brain Studios, which is...
This is Dmitry, the lead programmer, the artist, and the director of Outer Brain Studio, the creators of Blood Typers. I've had an He gave me an interview, shared some details on the game, told me about the team's past and even its future. So we're not just going to have a fun ride, but a nice company as well. Speaking of nice things, type to play. Rather unconventional, but the cliches have a tendency of becoming quite annoying over time. And yet, you're met not only with a new ecosystem, but an amazingly complete design language too. So much so that, in my opinion, there's never really the question of how do I do this? So the question we're left with is what do I do? On the macro level, the game functions as a regular roguelike. You're spawned onto a generated map and are tasked with finding the 5 tapes in order to get away from this place. There are 3 main activities that double as the obstacles you have to deal with: exploration, combat, and looting. And by covering them in this particular order, I will demonstrate how tight the bond is between the mechanics here, starting with the exploration. The basis for a roguelike game includes a space which is supposed to be open, big, and most importantly, maze-like. The room's layout and the loot locations are different for every single run. Thus comes an element of surprise. And that is especially important considering we're not just having a repetitive roguelike structure, but a horror game as well. So the anticipation for a goodie is accompanied by this sense of uneasiness every time you're entering a room. Not even mentioning that in order to do this, you have to walk straight to the door and type a command to make it open. Not only diving into the unknown, but also placing yourself in a dangerous position. Honorable mention for the ladders and planks. They serve the same purpose as the doors, the difference being the ladders are leading to a whole new floor of the level, while the planks, made into quite literal QTEs, provide both challenge and risk. there could be a useful item waiting on the other side, but, you know, falling is pretty painful, and no one really said that it's safe down there. This emotional roller coaster loop continues to work thanks to not only the all familiar internal materialism, but as well quite specific external restrictions. Firstly, some doors have golden locks on them. Some of the others got silver ones. Following the genre trope, the locks are opened by matching keys, which, of course, you're required to find as well. And the very moment it happens, your mind kind of clicks, signaling you've just acquired access to a number of potentially important rooms. And thus, you've passed the first obstacle in the way of exploration. The second obstacle is a lot more interesting. While cruising the level, time after time you'll stumble upon the Red Veil. The veil blocks paths to the most dangerous areas. So that's a good thing, right? The catch is that aside from the most treacherous monsters, in here you can fight not just equally valuable loot, but the objects crucial to progressing the game too. And the best part is, in order to pass by those veils, you are required to prepare yourself, getting all the necessary equipment. Find a room with a terminal, complete a rather difficult typing minigame, and, with your own hands, type the command, turn off safe mode. The entire defense system is structured in a way so that you really don't want to type that command. And yet, they leave you no choice. So you press the last button, and immediately regret your decision. I love the way this system works. Every single aspect of it sends you a negative feedback, but at the end of the day, this is the only way to continue the run. The only way to move forward. And, as I said, even though there is no choice and the game basically just shows you a big red button, the important thing is that it is you who decides to press it. It is you who decides to enter the nightmare. And this is my second most favorite moment in the game. Okay, so what is this dangerous thing hiding in those danger zones? A segue to a discussion of the combat, of course. Rather typical for the genre. Check this out. This is a 1999 game, The Typing of the Dead. And this is the yet to come out title, Blood Typers, as of December 2024. You see a zombie, you type a word, 25 years of difference. What were the games you and Blood Typers drew inspiration from, if there were any, of course?
Yeah, I think the obvious answer would be, of course, Typing of the Dead.
I knew you'd say that.
Yeah, I would imagine we wouldn't have come up with these concepts if that game hadn't existed. So once you get out of the typing elements, it's of course heavily inspired by survival horror. So Resident Evil, mostly. So I think...
I'm not being serious by any definition here. The Typing of the Dead, by its concept, is a reimagination and an alternative version of the House of the Dead 2, which is, you guessed it, an on-rail shooter, controlled by a light pistol. The alternativeness of the game is right in the title, literally, the House of the Dead, adapted for a keyboard. And I'm telling you all this to convey the degree of my genuine fascination. Because that 25 years I was joking about a minute ago turned what was a full game back then into something we could classify today as merely a minigame. And the combat of Blood Typers practically is still that minigame, except its integrity into the game's systems, thus also its depth, increased dramatically. Check this out. This is a regular zombie. It is coming after you. Upon reaching you, it deals a hit. This is its health bar. Type all the words, the zombie expires. This is your trusty pipe, allowing you a close range attack, just like the one the zombie got. Question: how do you fight effectively while not receiving any damage? We're still in a survival horror game, remember? The resources are limited. The answer being that every word you type temporarily stuns an enemy, giving you an opportunity to type a new one. It might be a large monster, and then it'll have 5 words instead of 3. It might be spider-like, and then it'll spit the poison, slowly tipping away from your health bar. It might be flying and have just a single word, but these tend to keep together to one another. And then there's the meatball spawner. These get as many as 10 words, and even more, a constant reinforcement. Except, just like the majority of enemies, it only activates after you shut down the safe mode, and wakes up the moment a player comes close to it. Overall, nothing special. Basic game design. But here is the moment we're starting to take into account this trademark depth I keep talking about. Consider that we exist in a 3D environment and suddenly you can leave the battle mode and change your position. Consider that it's a survival horror, yeah, like you forgot. And now, if you're getting tired on resources, you can avoid the fight altogether. Consider that it's a roguelike game, and now the monsters will be breaking in from all over the place. The message is clear, I suppose. Even though the space around does not influence the player's behavior much, on a bigger scale, the complexity of the levels provides just enough variety to the fights and the player's actions in general. Yeah, still not enough variety. I gotta be missing something. There are 3 main activities that double as the obstacles you have to deal with: exploration, combat. Looting is one of the key aspects in the survival horror genre. In a way, it kind of is the survival from the title. 3 is our lucky number for today, so we're going to talk about precisely that many categories of equipment. Combat items, healing items, and let's call it interactional items. It's not a name with a clear meaning, so let it be the first one. By interactional items, I mean those that help you interact with the level itself. I've already told you about the keys. 1 gold, 1 silver, grant access to some new rooms, you know the drill. The other thing I'm putting in this category are the cassettes. Collectibles required for the game's completion, of which you are going to need 5, as I've said earlier. Finishing the segment with the barricading kit. I was almost going to declare that I chose to ignore this mechanic due to its debatable usefulness, although in the middle of the production I've managed to check that box as well as a couple of others, coming to the conclusion that, given the circumstances, barricades can be somewhat useful. Speaking of, the devs are aware of this problem and are working on the solution.
That is how we've been thinking about it. So we have Hadley, our one character, who has improved barricade interactions, and yeah, like in the demo, it's not super useful. It can be slightly useful if you're playing on the hardest difficulties. Yeah, but in general, it's not that big of a deal. So we've thought, like, okay, how do we make that more useful? Well, maybe there's a level where, like, it sort of is forced to be more useful. That there's a lot more potential for barricading and a lot more stuff coming in through doors. So yeah, we've thought about it that way for sure.
The healing items work pretty much the same as the ones in Resident Evil. You know, there's a green herb, a red herb, could be used separately, but should you combine them, the effect gets stronger. It's all the same here, except it's all sandwiches. Take a bread, take a meat, combine them, get a sandwich. And I'm acting so smart telling you all how obvious this is now, but how shocked I was discovering you can combine the items on our 3 out of 5 total, I felt like the biggest idiot and genius ever alive simultaneously. Sandwiches aside, the only item left is a mole cheese, curing the poisoning you get from being attacked by a spider. Coming back to Resident Evil, you can store your equipment by using a computer. There are multiple of these, and the storage space is shared across each one, just like in RE games or within the chests from Minecraft.
I mean, definitely, I love survival horror, so of course I recommend everyone to play all the classic survival horror games. They're all still good, all of them hold up, so the original Resident Evils. My favorite is Resident Evil 1 of the Resident Evils, the OG, the original Resident Evil 1. Well, maybe Director's Cut as well.
I know that the video feels like some kind of phantasmagoric speedrun at this point, but truth be told, I wanted to get done with these items quickly just so I could talk about the combat, since in it lies at least half, if not more, of both gameplay depth and my fascination with it, in hand with the respect for the game. Okay, this is your trusty pipe. Hello again, pipe. Allowing you a close-ranged attack. Type of word, strike a punch. No words left, enemy is dead. Here's a sword. The mechanic is the same, but, while equipped, shortens the length of the words all the way to 1 or 2 characters. Extremely effective and, for balancing reasons, restricted by low durability, 50 words. Use it smart, and you'll have it to keep for up to 3/4 of a run. Although, gang punching the zombies is not exactly polite, so the remaining weapons are ranged only. For example, a book, hilariously named Necrolexicon. A brilliant joke, you can't change my mind. So, it allows you to fight at a distance. It holds plenty of charges, but all the positives are balanced by increased word length. If you're not in the mood for such difficulties, pick a regular pistol. The only difference to the pipe is that it shoots, meaning it consumes ammo. Moderate usage, dependable instrument, and, just like any ranged weapon, doesn't allow any mistakes. A single typo and you miss a shot. A wasted bullet is also a waste of time. The further, the more. The pistol's caliber brother, Micro Uzi, works the same way as a sword, highly decreasing the word's length, but the ammo usage is slightly higher than it is with a pistol. The only thing more powerful is a shotgun. You won't find many shells for it, and it can only fit 2 of them at a time, but should you get the moment right, a single word will wipe not just one enemy, but a whole bunch. The last, but certainly not least, is a flamethrower, every single shot of which removes a character from all of the opponent's words. A definitive way to clear the spawners. So effective that it makes those 10 words last as long as 2.5.
Probably my favorite was when we implemented the flamethrower, which it was like, it just made sense that if you had a flamethrower in this typing game, what could it do? And I don't remember which one of us came up with the idea that it would reduce the length of the word as you're shooting. More or less, that's what it does. So you can see like the flame reducing the length of words as you're shooting it. That seemed pretty exciting mechanic to me.
As you can see, the arsenal here is quite extensive. Every weapon out of the 8 challenges not only your strategic thinking, but your motorics as well. And you heard me right. The 8th one is a crossbow, and basically, it's a worse pistol. Considering how little ammo you find and its upsetting 3 bolts capacity, I would say it's a decent last measure, but generally speaking, even the basic pipe is a much more valid option. And what's great about Blood Typer's design is that every weapon could be and will be valid. All 8 of them play and feel very different. Most arena shooters could only envy that variety. And this is how the items become the 3rd and the last piece of the puzzle. Unless I forgot about something. Or haven't told you on purpose. There's a multiplayer! And I'm only bringing it up now. Yes, Blood Typers is a co-op game. Surely you figured that out by now looking at the footage, but this, believe it or not, is extremely important. So much so that it turns the entire game on its head. Single player mode is an option, but if you have an available friend, a brother, your mom, your dad, your cat, get them all together and go type some words. And if you're still not convinced, there is nothing I can do except to expand my statement. Blood Typers is the most co-op game I've ever seen. And I'm being dead serious here. Fun fact, the characters here are far from being just random 3D models. The game takes place in a haunted film studio, so the character cast is actually a film crew. A camera operator, a stunt double, a gaffer, a wardrobe worker, and a set builder. Every crew member has their own unique set of stats. Someone is effective in close combat, someone is ranged, some move quicker, and others can take a punch. The system is quite simple, but it works nevertheless. And the final brushstroke on it is an individual perk, matching the character's role on the stage. For example, the gaffer slows the enemies down using the light on his shoulder, while the set builder works faster with the barricades. And now, with all this information acquired, take a look at the three aspects we were talking about through the lens of co-op and realize just what is happening here. While exploring the level, you can split up to speed the process up or hold together for safety in numbers. While in the fight, you can take the roles and work together to achieve the highest efficiency with minimal resources, of which is greatly helped by a certain mechanic. Specifically, when multiple players happen to fight the same enemy, all of them are seeing the same typing progress on its words in real time.
Yeah, I agree. We actually released the demo for the originally without that mechanic.
Oh.
Yeah, so it was considerably more difficult because you didn't know if you were typing the same words. And so, yeah, and then Corey, he fought very hard to get that mechanic in as soon as possible, and then we did. So he did most of the work on getting that set up, and yeah, that really changes things. It makes the world feel a lot more alive and interactive.
What an elegant solution, I'm a big fan. And of course, the gear is shared evenly as well. I know I sound like a nerd telling you the lore of my postcard collection, but you just feel the magic. In the sheer moments after getting our hands on the game and looking at the characters, me and my squad mate intuitively started to come up with a strategy. This is Kilo. He helped me with the footage, for which I am greatly thankful. Since I am faster with the typing in English, we decided that I'll be fighting on the forefront, and my partner will be covering me from a distance. On the macro level, we prepared by picking our fitting characters. Kilo chose Ophelia, who has a bag with the 3 additional inventory slots, and I went with Diane, who can automatically dodge an enemy attack with a 30-second cooldown. Meanwhile, on the micro level, we came up with the idea that I would be typing the top words and my friend would be starting from the bottom. This way we could avoid the hustle as well as wasting our time mid-combat. There's no fun without a gun, so the weaponry too was split according to the roles. A shotgun, a flamer and a sword for me, with the pistol, an Uzi and a book going to Kilo. And honestly, I am just blown away. It was probably the first time I felt such joy simply from the way the game is made. And not even from the game itself, but instead its design. It's like when you hear a joke which wasn't the funniest in the world, but it's just so cleverly put together that you just can't help but feel good. And then there's a bet. I keep showering the game with praises, but of course, there is no such thing as perfection. Considering that Blood Typers is still in the alpha stage, it is just impossible to avoid the issues altogether. The biggest of which are the bugs. Overall, the game works surprisingly stable. Most of the modern games couldn't even dream of such a level of polishing. And again, we're talking about a demo here, not even early access. There is just none of that funny jank you see all over the games these days. Unfortunately, the devs have yet to patch up a couple of major issues. There was a time me and Kilo got glued to the ground, effectively costing us a run, which, on average, takes about an hour to complete. The other day we called a friend to join the party, so the game decided to isolate her in a parallel universe, where time had stopped and she was the only one moving. On our screens, meanwhile, she was merely standing still. Basically, the player is able to stay in the game, but not actually play it, and if you try to leave, the entire lobby should prepare to meet their beautiful desktop. Just as I said, the issues are few, but very upsetting. Which, to a smaller extent, I could say about the visuals as well. I do like the way Blood Typers looks. The surroundings and the monsters are executed in a quite authentic low-poly style, paying homage to the horror games of the PS1 era. The icons kind of stick out. I'd say they could use some more sharpness and harsher angles to more strongly blend with the game's style. But the one thing confusing me the most is the character design. The character models turned out to be explicitly cartoonish. It's almost like they came from an entirely different game. In my opinion, the studio should have gone all out with the PS1 aesthetic. Make the characters more angular, more pixelated for good measure. Definitely a subjective statement, but I would gladly play with models similar to the ones from the previously mentioned early Resident Evil games. You could argue by saying that Blood Typers is quite a cartoony game with cartoony animations, so the realistic characters would look inappropriate in a context like this. Yet the animations in early RE games were not advanced either, and honestly, they fit the simplistic visuals just fine. Obviously, the bugs will be fixed. Just like the map variety, for example, of which there are, as of now, precisely one: a haunted mansion. The developers will be adding more film stages themed around popular horror movie settings over time. In fact, they could be adding pretty much anything. That's the development for ya. But seeing the game deliver a complete gameplay basis and such an intertwined design language this early, I can't help but believe everything is going to be fine. And actually, there's not that long to wait. February 20th is the day the game comes out. No early access, 1.0. More levels, more characters, and even more weapons.
I guess I could probably say there will be, let's say, at least 3 new levels, 3 like separate campaigns to get through. In the demo, you can already see there's going to be 3 new characters. Every character has a different perk. Some of the new perks that the characters have are really fun, are pretty game-changing, especially in multiplayer. New monsters, new weapons, just more of everything that you saw in the demo. Like for example, I could say that you can now throw food at your friends. So like if you have a sandwich in your inventory, you could just throw it to your friend if they're low on health. And they just immediately eat it. So it's almost like a heal. You can like throw it to heal people.
It doesn't really matter the taste or experience you have. Maybe horror games are not your thing. Maybe the sheer sight of a typing game fills you with existential dread. You might be not into playing games at all. The entry bar in Blood Typers is probably the lowest you could imagine. You don't even need to aim in this game. In fact, you won't need to use the mouse whatsoever. Afraid of a new language? Afraid of typing? In that case, just tweak the difficulty settings. Even more, there are separate options for both typing mechanics and overall gameplay. Create the experience you want and just go for it. The Steam demo is going to be up at least until the game releases, and it's free. Get your friends together, have a nice evening, have some fun, get some scares, try to get the highest score or the best statistics in the run. Whose typing was faster? Who got the bigger combo? You can dive in at practically any moment with any company. You won't even need to learn anything. Everyone starts in the same conditions. At the start of every run, there is a little tutorial section. It works quite nicely and does help to understand the basics, and after the first time it takes just a minute to complete while not being annoying in any way. And mirroring it is the ending section. When you've learned the rules, overcome the obstacles, gathered all the tapes, and then the final challenge awaits. The last tape is going in the player. The TV screen is cracking with a burst. Out of it is sticking the elevator panel. This is the way you got here. This is the way you will escape. You just have to break through the hordes of undead. I've told you before that the safe mod shutdown is my second most favorite moment in the entire game. So this is the first